up on your block and make that thing go grata-ta-ta. Switch my whip, came back in black, I'm starting saying rest in peace to Bon Scott. Close that door, we blowing smoke, she asked me light a fire like a Marsan. Act a fool on stage, probably leave my fucking show in a cop car. She was legendary through a TV at the window of the montage. Cocaine on the table, liquor pouring, don't give a damn. Dude, your girlfriend is a groupie, she just trying to get in. Saying I'm with the band. Ay, ay. Now she acting out of pocket, trying to grab up on my pants. For the bitches in my trailer city ain't got a man. And they all brought a friend. I've been fucking hoes and popping pillies, man, I feel just like a rock star. All my brothers got that gas and they always be smoking like a rock star. Fucking with me, call up on the Uzi and show up in the shot glass. When my homies pull up on your block and make that thing go grata-ta-ta. I've been in the hills, fucking superstars, feeling like a pop star. Drinking Henny, bad bitches jumping in the pool and they ain't got a mobile. Hit her from the back, blowing on the tracks and now she's screaming out no mas. They're like savage, why you got 12 cars and you only got 6 cars? I ain't with the cake and how you kiss that. Your wifey say I'm looking like a whole stack. Green hundreds in my safe, I got old racks. LA bitches always asking where the coke at. Living like a rock star, smash out on a cop car, sweeter than a pop tart. You know you all not hurt. I done made a hot shot, never used to trap hard. Living like a rock star, living like a rock star. I've been fucking hoes and popping pillies, man, I feel just like a rock star. All my brothers got that gas and they always be smoking like a rock star. Fucking with me, call up on the Uzi and show up in the shot glass. When my homies pull up on your block and make that thing go grata-ta-ta.
Hello, and welcome to the West is the Best Show. My name is Andrew Bell Ramos, your host, as always. Today, we're going to have a fireside chat about some literature, its importance. I'm going to drink some coffee, as I always do. Maybe have some intelligent banter back and forth between me and AJ, Mr. Producer Man, who is as smart as he is attractive. We're going to touch on a few different things. Maybe we'll talk about some conspiracy theories, but no promises. So, as always, thanks for tuning in to episode 15 of the West is the Best show. This coffee is fantastic. I'm kind of trying to force myself to drink coffee again. I was never really a big coffee drinker. Most people like to drink coffee, and I think that it just always looked cool. Like, you see people eating like eggs and drinking coffee and smoking a cigarette, and you're like, that seems like the best breakfast ever. Maybe my point of view is a little skewed. I have a bow tie on today, but it is camouflage to let you know that I'm as uptight as I am cool. But yeah, I didn't used to eat eggs. I didn't used to drink coffee, so I kind of just forced myself to start liking those things because I would trick myself, and this is how I did it. I used to hate even the smell of coffee to the point where if I went into a Starbucks, if I was with someone and they went into Starbucks, I had to hold my breath because I hated the smell of coffee that bad. But I'm like, man, people like coffee, and I'm just probably in my brain, I'm going to get over it. So what I did was I would go to Starbucks, and I would order a hot chocolate, and I would ask them to put in a shot of espresso. And I thought it tasted like shit, and it tasted like dirt, and it was gross and all this kind of stuff. And so then I just started forcing myself to drink it more, and then I moved up to 2 shots of espresso, and then I started, doing different things with different amounts of coffee in them. And then I was at the point where I could, drink heavily cream and sugared coffee, and then I worked down to like a cappuccino, and then now I can just drink regular black coffee, and then maybe one day I'll be able to graduate to just drinking espresso, little cups of super strong coffee in tiny little cups, and maybe I'll convince AJ here to buy me an espresso machine one day. But until now, until then, rather, I'm going to just deal with this black coffee. So give me 1 second. Like I mentioned earlier, today's show is going to be on literature, why it's important in books and knowledge. Some of you may or may not know my story, but I used to be a very, very stupid person. I was kind of as a youngster, I was the skateboarder, rock band, guitar player kind of person. I was a very stereotypical teenage boy. And then I became a man and realized that I didn't need to spend 9 hours a day playing video games and have long hair and eat candy and smoke cigarettes all day long, and that I should get my life together and focus on things that actually matter, like courting women and making a bunch of money. So those are pretty much the only things that matter to me, basically. Besides the very important topic that we're talking about today is dealing with expanding your knowledge base, becoming cultured and sophisticated. And the process and how you do that is with books. Now, I didn't like reading books because they were not only intimidating, but maybe that I thought that the people that read them were kind of maybe losers or antisocial or something of that nature. And so I tried to stay as far away from it as possible. I was a very bad student. I dropped out of school at 16 years old because I was already working over 50, 60 hours a week as a full-time mechanic, basically. So I had no interest, and nobody that I looked up to had any interest in reading or self-improvement either. I actually heard a quote, because I do when I'm not reading books in my spare time, among the very little spare time that I do have, I'll read or listen to like business or self-improvement seminars, because I figure I need to expose myself to the people and their thinking and their attitude of all the people that have the stuff I want. So I encourage you to do that. Look at all the people that have the things that you want, that you look up to, and do and act the way that they're doing it and acting it. And so I looked at what I wanted to do in my life, and I kind of evaluated it, and I said, man, what do I want to do? I want to own businesses. I want to be wealthy. Anything that comes out of an unhealthy thinking of being as a burden to my family. So even as a young person, I started making money very young. I talked about that in another show where I felt, I was a burden to my family, so I just needed to make money like really fast. But important. I think that independent people are a lot more resourceful. They have a significant amount of entrepreneurship where they have to force themselves to succeed, to meet their version of who they are in their mind, that they perceive themselves to be. So there was a seminar that I was listening to by a gentleman named Jim Rohn. If you've ever seen Tony Robbins, like the big buff guy who talks like this deep voice thing, he the firewalking guy, it was his mentor. Tony Robbins used to sell conference tickets for this guy. And now Jim Rohn is very cool. He's like an old guy, like very super, super wise. And he talks about the importance of books and why you have to develop yourself. He says you need to work harder on yourself than you do at your job. Only then will you be successful. Only then will you be worth more. He talks about how if you work at McDonald's and you're making $6 an hour, you're complaining that it should be $7 an hour, but $7 is already an option. If you take out the trash, they'll pay you $6. If you whistle while you do it, they'll pay you $7. So everything is just about your attitude and cultivating yourself. And so the way that you do that is through books. You have to grow yourself. You have to grow your thinking. The way you have to feed your brain. Your brain is basically who you are. The rest of it is just piloting a meat sack, technically. So it's super important. A lot of the things that you deal with in your life, a lot of the problems that you've occurred, a lot of the questions that you have, there's nothing new under the sun. Like any problem that you're going through, someone has already been through it. Any problem you're experiencing, people have gone through that problem. And it's in a book somewhere. You just have to find it. Only when I was like, man, I got to learn how to read, man. Only then I was like, holy crap, how I think about the world is wrong, how my attitude is wrong, all these different things. When you expose yourself to the thinking of different people, what if you were, Ty Lopez talks about this in his TED Talk, whether you like Ty Lopez or not. He talks about how, what if you were able to start a business 50-50 with Bill Gates? And he used all the tricks of the trade he used to grow Microsoft into a $1 billion company. You think you'd be successful? How about if you started a charity with Mother Teresa? You think you'd have any issues with that? How about if you had the Dalai Lama as your personal coach to teach you how to be happy in life? What if you had Arnold Schwarzenegger as your personal trainer? You think you'd have any problems getting fit? And all of those people are able to be harnessed. All of their knowledge and expertise is able to be injected into your life if you'll only discipline yourself to read. Most books are only 200 pages. That's not intimidating. If you read 50 pages a day, you can read a book in 4 days. Say you read 25 pages a day, you read it in 8 days. That's not intimidating. The average CEO reads 6 books a year. 60 books a year. I'm sorry. The average American reads 1 book a year. You may say, "Shit, it's more books than I read last year." But if you're trying to cultivate your value, trying to be worth more money, make more money, learn more things, be smarter, become more attractive, success isn't. Jim Rohn talks about this. Success is not something that you achieve. It's something that you attract by being attractive to the marketplace, to other people, to success in general. And so I've brought in just a couple books today for us to talk about. The one that I do not have here is His Needs, Her Needs, but we're going to talk about that in just a second. The first thing we're going to talk about is a book called The Alchemist. So, The Alchemist, I've heard a lot of good things about The Alchemist, so I decided that I had to have it for myself. Now, people have this misconception that books are expensive or getting a library is expensive, and sometimes it can be. If you go to Barnes & Noble's, a brand new book's $30-$40, and it's something that may or may not be important to you, that you could be like, oh, I'll just read it online or something. What I do, because I'm a little asshole hipster guy, is I like to go to thrift stores or used bookstores. Half Price Books sucks ass, so don't go there. I went to a place called Helping Hands, and it's kind of like a thrift store / government assistance place where if you can't pay your bills or you don't have money for food or whatever, I don't know. Anyways, they have books there, and I'm sure there's a place wherever you are that has something similar. You go in, and there's a thrift store, so in the back I look for the books. I'm a professional window shopper. I like to go in and out of stores just to look at all the things they have, so that by the time that I have an idea of what I want, I know where it is and how much it costs. I always shop all the time. So I go in, and I found this place, Helping Hands, and a paperback book like this is $1, right? And then the hardcover books are $2. So I go in there and I spend like $55, and I get 30 books. Some of them are college textbooks that are $50 or $60 I could sell on OfferUp the same day. I have a Politics in America Texas edition. It's this big college textbook. It's like $80, but I paid $2 for it. People don't understand what they have. What's worse is they don't appreciate the knowledge that they have. You don't have to read all the books in the world. What you do have to do, if you're serious about this, is you have to pick maybe 150 and treat them like friends. Mine for gold. Read them over and over again, looking for the nuggets that you can learn. I heard a lot of really good things about this book. This is The Alchemist, and this is Will Smith's favorite book, if I understand it correctly. And so what an alchemist is they were people in the medieval times and the olden days, around the time of Christ, AD, all that kind of jazz. And they were people that were thought that they could create gold from random objects. So, like, if you picked up a rock and he could do, like, some incantation and it would turn into gold. Man, this coffee's good. Thank you, AJ. You're amazing. So, the book starts out with this story that I have no idea. It's like the weirdest story on the planet. I would read it to you, but you'd get bored by it. So, basically, in short, there's this angel that comes down and is in front of a lake, and the angel is staring at itself, and it's crying. So then the lake asks the angel why the angel's crying, and he goes, I cry for Narcissus. And then the lake goes, why do you cry for Narcissus? And then the angel goes, Narcissus, it was so beautiful. He would come down here every single day and stare at himself in your waters. And one day he slipped in and drowned. And I think that's sad, because no longer will he be as beautiful as he was when he saw himself. And then the lake goes, huh, I never noticed how beautiful he was, because I always just stared at myself and the reflection in his eyes. And I think I'm pretty smart. I probably have an IQ of at least 130 plus, maybe 140. I'm probably scaring the hell out of 140. But I have no fucking idea what that means. Like, it's so deep and theological, I have no idea what that means. So, Narcissus obviously means that he was a narcissist, like he was in love with himself and it was his own demise. But, like, the lake was like, oh, I never noticed that he was so selfish because I was selfish. Maybe that's what it is, and I just am trying to blow it out of proportion. But anyways, the beginning story has nothing to do with this book, and I don't know why I wasted your time telling you about that. But, so, the book starts out, and there's a young man who is a sheep herder, and he's spending the night in a temple that's like ruined. It's like an old temple the sky is showing. And so he has this dream that he finds this treasure at the foot of this pyramid. And so he's haunted by this. So he's like, he always has like his fire shut up in his bones to be someone and find this treasure, make something of his life. And so he sells all the shit he has, and he goes on this pursuit of finding this treasure. So he encounters all these different things. And I would recommend that you read the book, but I'm going to spoil it for you now. So he goes on this adventure, and he runs into all these different problems. People tell him he can't do it and all this kind of shit. So eventually he ends up, in and out of the city, and then he takes a job doing something he doesn't want to do, and then wakes up 2 years later and is like, I'm wasting my life. And basically everything he touches is successful, but he still has this yearning where he's like, man, I need to achieve this thing that's haunting me for the success, this treasure that I find. And the treasure is metaphorical. It's whatever you want in your life as an end goal. And he has all these things, and so eventually he, again, sells all the shit he owns, and then he goes out into the desert, and he's trying to find his way through. So then he finds this guy who's the alchemist, and he starts learning He starts learning alchemy, how he can turn things into gold, because he figures that he will have to make his treasure. It's not a treasure that he could find. It's something that he has to create himself. Or he was just always infatuated by the fact that that guy could do that, because it was like whispers and rumors. It wasn't like a popular thing. So, long story short, he gets to the base of the pyramid at the end of the book, and he gets robbed by these guys, and they kick his ass and they take all his shit, and they're like, why are you here? And he goes, I'm here because I had a dream long ago that there was a treasure for me here at the base of this pyramid. And then they laugh at him and say, are you stupid? We had the same dream, but the treasure was at this old abandoned church with a hole through the roof. And he has this like, holy shit moment. So then he goes all the way back to where he was in the beginning when he had the first dream, and the treasure was under where he laid his head. So that's kind of a big concept, and I understand. And there's also a really good quote, actually. The alchemist guy, he's talking to this priest who's helping him out later in the book about most of the way through. And to thank the guy for sheltering this kid and the alchemist, he's like, hey, can you give me these things so I can create this incantation? And the priest goes, okay. So then he takes this pan, like a cast iron skillet basically, and he turns it into gold, and he breaks it in half, and he gives some to everybody, right? And the priest goes, oh, no, like, this is way too much. I can't accept this. Like, I just let you sleep here. You're giving me like $500,000 basically, an equivalent. And he goes, how dare you say that? The universe is listening, and if you say no, the universe will give you half of what you deserve next time. You never say no. You never turn down blessings that people are trying to bless you with. So that's another good concept. There's a lot of really good stuff in here, and I'm confused by some of it, but it was a good read nonetheless. So I suggest you do it. It's The Alchemist. On the back it says $17, but I got it for $1, and I'm sure you can get it for a lot less than that. It's a good buy. Even if it was $50, you should buy this book. The next book we're going to talk about, I actually don't have. I lent it to a friend of mine, and she liked it so much she hasn't given it back yet. So hopefully I get it back. But we're going to talk about the book His Needs, Her Needs, and AJ is going to pull up a picture. This book is probably something I want to harp on for a little bit. So I don't discriminate when I go and buy books. When I go and buy books, I'm not really looking for stuff like The Alchemist. The only reason I bought this as a fantasy book was because I had heard so many good things. I always go in and I look through all the business books, the self-improvement books, and I usually don't even buy stuff like this sometimes, but I buy all of it because if it's $2, I could sell it on eBay for at least triple. So I think it's a good investment because the way technology is going and the way that whether you think global warming is true or not, they're going to crack down on it so much that they're not going to be printing books in maybe a decade or so. So I think the price of books, especially nice ones or even rare first edition copies and hardbacks, are going to be fucking expensive. So we'll watch this video in 10 years and see if I have a cool 50 grand sitting around in paper in my shelves. But this book, His Needs, Her Needs, fantastic read. I went on vacation, a 2-day hiatus, because I got real stressed out one time, and I went into like a 2-day hiatus into Oklahoma, and I just read books all day. This is one of the books I read, and it's phenomenal. I've never been married, and nor do I plan to get divorced or have an affair, but this book changed the way I think about a lot of different things. It's written by he's a doctorate in something, I don't know. He does marital counseling. And it's very good. He basically talks about the difference between men and women and what their emotional needs are. And you may be saying, huh, gay! But it's super important. And if you understand this stuff, it'll help you in a relationship. Even if it's not applicable to you in a relationship, which it will be. Stop being so pessimistic. It'll help you out with interactions with other males or other females if you're the opposite sex. So basically, he talks about different situations in his counseling career of different people that had different problems, and he's kind of tearing that apart. So one of the main things that he talks about is when you ask men and women what their top 5 most important emotional needs are. Oh, I'm sorry, top 10. The top 10 most important emotional needs that they have in life from their spouse. The top 5 for men is almost always, without exception, the last 5 for women. And then the top 5 for women are almost always the last 5 most important things for men. And so comes this fight back and forth. I don't know if you've had this where it's, why is this important to him? It's so stupid. I don't understand. And then he goes, this is so stupid. Why is this important to her? I don't understand. It's because you have different priorities. And this is an amazing book, and I need to read it again because just talking about it gets me excited. Because I'm very passionate about this, the difference between men and women, and I think it's a good thing. So in this, he talks about, like I said, the top 5 most important emotional needs. I'm not going to spoil all of it because I think you actually really need to read this. So to kind of summarize, men need 99% of the time, most men, this is obviously there's always exceptions, but 99% of men, 99% of the time, this is how they feel. Men view women, don't get offended, ladies, if you're going to, don't do this. They view women as, to kind of like help you understand, men view women kind of like a sports car. They want to feel like it's super, they want it to be pretty, and they want it to be fast and nice, and they want it to be something that their friends want to drive, but they can't, but, all this kind of stuff. And top 5 most important emotional needs. Men want a spouse that is physically attractive, that they're able to have sex with, that is supportive of their goals, regardless of whatever they are, and stuff like that. Stuff that you hear, you go, duh, but it's like most people don't remember that when it comes to fights or when you're dealing with men. If you're a man, you have an X and a Y chromosome. You're biologically programmed to fuck, kill, and eat, right? So there comes this disdain where if girls only hang out girls and they're used to that kind of like energy and tone, it's like Guys are completely different. And they don't understand that. But with men, the confusion comes with women, where the top 5 most important emotional needs for women are things like non-sexual physical touch. They need hugs, they need shoulder rubs, and they need you to feel like that you're there for them, but you don't want to have sex with them. And they want to feel supported and heard. They don't want you to fix it. They just want you to listen to their problems. Men want to try and fix everything because we're very utilized with our activities. We try to like shortline things where it's like, oh, this is the problem. This is what you need to do to fix it. Let's do it right now. Let's not wait to do this because it's going to cause more problems. And that's not the way that she's thinking. Which is why men and women make such a good team, because we're different. We complete each other. And so he talks about how if you get married, right, and how affairs happen is this. Say if I'm in a relationship and I get married to this person, my emotional needs are my emotional needs. Those top 5 things are not going to go away. And if you try to hide them, you're going to become progressively more unhappy. So these are the things that are super important to me. And these are the things that are super important to her. And these aren't going away, ever, right? They may change a little bit, but they're not going away. Now, if I'm going into a contract before God and everybody who loves me, and I'm going to tell all these people and tell the government, sign all the papers saying that I love this person, I will provide for them until the day I die, that's it, right? I've just now agreed to only receive those things that are most emotionally important from me from that one person, from that one outlet. And the same thing with the woman. So this is where affairs arise. Couple has an issue. They have a fight that's unresolved, right? They do this. My grandparents have been married for a long time, and they always tell me you never go to bed angry. And then every day they wake up super early so that way they can spend the first hour of their day together. I think it's beautiful. Because that way they're able to enjoy each other's presence before the craziness of the day. And if you have the self-discipline to do that, I would recommend that you do that. So a fight occurs, and then they are stupid and go to bed angry or something. They don't address the problem immediately, at least between themselves. If another person's involved, they can let that go. But if you and your wife have to figure that shit out fast. So a problem arises, and it creates this disdain where women give sex to get love, and men give love to get sex. So, and that's not a bad thing. That's how the world works. If you think that's a bad thing, you need to definitely read this book and rethink all that you understand about biology. So, I know I'm lollygagging here. So basically, let's say that, for instance, whether this happens one way or the other, say this lady right here is no longer engaging in physical contact with this guy right here. They're not having sex, right? He's going to get super frustrated, right? It's going to cause tension in the relationship. No matter what the causes are, whether that's she is tired or she works and she raises the kids and she does all this shit and she doesn't feel up to it, it's a huge problem. Not just for him, for her, because it'll come back to bite her in the ass. And I'm not justifying women doing whatever. I'm just saying it's a give and take, right? Or it could happen the other way, where he is not engaging in deep, meaningful conversation with her. Non-sexual physical touch. All these important emotional needs that women have, right? He's not engaging with her, those top 5 most important needs that are not going to go away. And he's not meeting what she needs to feel loved, understood, respected, all these things, right? Because that's things that we all want, right? It causes disdain in the same manner. So say, for instance, they aren't talking to he is not talking to her about the things that are important to her in a deep, meaningful conversation. He's not giving her non-sexual physical touch, all this kind of stuff. And she's not having sex with him. And she's not supporting his goals and all this kind of stuff, right? It causes this disdain, and it builds and builds and builds. It's like blowing up a balloon, right? There's not a release valve for all this stress and tension. She's not going to feel better about the problems in her life, and he's not going to be able to focus on anything because he's not going to be able to get his nut off. He's going to go to work, right? And he's going to be pent up like a banty rooster, and it builds and builds and builds and builds, right? So, time comes where if he needs something and the place that he's agreed to only get it from is not giving it to him, he'll find it somewhere else. And that's shitty, but that's her fault. And the reason why it's vice versa. It's his fault that she's not giving him sex either. You know what I mean? So it's this go around. So where, say he meets Laura at work, and they start talking, exchanging eyes, and then him and Laura have sex, he's going to be more affectionate with Laura, right? The more a man gets sex, the more affectionate he is. The more a woman gives sex, the more that their man is affectionate with them. Because that's what they want. You have to give this to get that. And that's how the world works, right? She serves him, he serves her. It's self-serving. It's a relationship. It's built on communication, trust, and working together. Now, she goes to work, right? And she meets Paul, and Paul listens to her, and Paul cares, and Paul, touches her on the shoulder, and, she doesn't feel threatened by Paul. She starts to develop feelings for Paul. And then she will have sex with Paul. It's cyclical. Cyclical. Thank you. AJ's a lot smarter than I am. I don't understand why he's not up here. It's the same thing where I want this, so I'm going to do this to get this. And it's vice versa between them. So, guys, you need to be more affectionate with your women. You need to be nicer and give them things and non-sexual physical touch. And they'll want to fuck you more. Right, because they're going to feel like they're not threatened. You're there for them. You understand what they're saying. All this kind of stuff. And then women that are more physically intimate with their guys will get more affection from their men because you're filling his emotional desires. You're there for him. He doesn't have to worry about whatever. You know what I mean? And so it's this thing where it's this back and forth, and it's all chemicals in the brain. But there's important things, and things are different for different people. He talks about this story in this book where there was a very wealthy guy, and he was fat and ugly and all this kind of shit, but he had this dime piece ass trophy wife, and she was super turned on to the fact that he had money. And that's not a bad thing, believe it or not. Like, I don't think it's a problem if you're a gold digger, but if you'd leave him just because he didn't have the money, that's fine. It's the same deal like if your wife got super fat, you wouldn't want to have sex with her. That's not fucked up. It's important to you, and he talks about that too. If you need to hold your spouse accountable to the things that you agreed to at the altar. I didn't agree that, hey, we both get balloon up and look fucking ugly and then hate each other. That's not what you signed up for. You should hold each other to be the best version of each other as you can. So, she was like, there's all this built up tension in their marriage. She goes, well, what's the problem? She goes, I can't fuck him because he doesn't take a shower and he dresses like shit. But I'm super turned on the fact that he has money and I love him. But we can't have sex. And he's pissed off because he can't have sex with her. So he's like, they come to this conclusion where he was like, okay, dude, you have to shower at least every day. You have to comb your hair and brush your teeth. And then you have to let her put you in whatever she wants to dress you in. And he goes, fuck that, that's stupid. Because he was like this computer empire guy and he made a bunch of money. And this is stupid. He goes, do you want to have sex with your wife? He's like, yeah, have you seen her? She's super hot. And he goes, let her dress you up and brush your teeth every day. Comb your hair. Take a shower. And he goes, fine. And then they start fucking like rabbits. She wasn't attracted to the fact of him physically. And some women are like that. They're attracted by the power and the money. That's fine. Dude, if I was a girl, I'd be a straight up gold digger, man. Like, what's up? I'd be like patrolling all the golf courses. Like, what's up? You gonna provide for me? Show me your fucking checkbook. But yeah, man, super important. And if you're having any problems in your marriage, this guy will probably address it in the book. So it would be well worth the investment to buy it. So the last book that we're going to talk about is something a little bit more fun. Ugh, coffee's cold. This book is called 101 Things to Do Before You Die. This book is good. This isn't a book you read. It's kind of a book that you complete. And I bought it before I knew what it was, because like I said, I collect books. And I figured it was worth the investment. So basically, you write your name here. I don't understand why you would get rid of this. I guess this was like a gift someone bought from Spencer's, and then whoever they gave it to didn't like it or something, because there's nothing completed in here. You fill this out as you go. So in the beginning, it talks about how all the things that you'll need, and there's like a checklist of things, right? So you go back and you it's like for 1 through 101, obviously, and it's different things, and it tells you how to do it. So number 1 is write a bestseller book, and it tells you how to write a bestseller book. And the next one's swim with sharks, whales, dolphins, win an award, trophy, or prize, catch a fish with your bare hands, and make a discovery, throw a house party, be part of a threesome, learn an instrument, ride a roller coaster, sleep in a 5-star hotel, shoot a gun, be on the cover of a national newspaper, make it into the dictionary, answer a personal ad, spend Christmas on the beach. And there's a whole bunch of different things. And what's super, super interesting is how you fill it out. I'm trying to find one. Hang on. Something that'd be interesting. Get away with the perfect practical joke or hoax. Nah, that one's stupid. Hang on. Here we go. Save someone's life. Las Vegas just happened, so it's appropriate. So right here, there's like a checklist where it talks about the date. Did you put your own life in danger? Whose life did you save? Like, it's super detailed. Like, this is something that you'd have to spend your entire life filling out. This book is incredible. Professional lifesaver. Has your life been saved? Did you act instinctively? Did you have to give blood? If yes, so how many times? Like, it's crazy shit. Like, get a tattoo or piercing, and then it has like a schematic of a human body that you have to, mark on, and it's crazy. I would recommend this book highly. I don't know about if I would fill this out myself. I'm thinking about maybe re-gifting this to someone. Not re-gifting because I bought it, but maybe someone like a kid or something would probably like. But it'd have to be someone who like would actually do it. Like, I don't want them to just stare at it like I do, because I'm not really interested in doing half the shit in here. Because I just want to like make a bunch of money and take over the planet. I'm not super interested in traveling to Europe and jumping into a cold river or something. I guess this is probably would help people have a fulfilling life if they're worried about that. Maybe, this would be a good book to give someone for a midlife crisis. This would be nice. This book would force you to spend a lot of money, and I don't like spending a whole bunch of money. So I have to find someone who is very frugal with their money and give this to them. So I hope I've convinced you that getting paper cuts and headaches and staring into thin pieces of trees for extended periods of time and hallucinating would be something that would be beneficial for you. If you're having any issue with reading, I would recommend that you start out reading in short amounts of time. Some books I started reading first were books that I was interested in. There's a book, I don't remember who wrote it, but it's called Start With Why. Start With Why is talking about how people learn, or why people are interested in learning things. For instance, in school, there's like a target, right? So it's an outer rung, an inner rung, and then a bullseye. So in school, they'll teach you what to read, they'll teach you how to read it, but they won't ever get to why, the center, why you need to read it, right? They'll teach you what book to read and how to read it, or what to do and how to do it. They won't teach you why to do it. This book right there. And it's important. Like, I want to lose a bunch of weight, right? This is how you lift the weights. This is where you need to go. But they never get to why. No one will lose weight if they know how to lose weight. No one ever makes a decision based on information. It's all emotion. I want to lose weight because I want to be there to see my kids graduate. I just had a heart attack, and I know I'm going to die if I don't change my ways. That's why. If you know why, the what and the how will figure it out. You don't give a single shit if your why is super solid. You'll figure the rest out, right? I want a six-pack ab, or I want to have $1 million by the time that I'm 30. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. It doesn't matter how, or it doesn't matter what. So I would recommend that you get your why if you're interested in reading books or being smarter or having more class, sophistication, being well-versed. Because let's get serious here. Like I said, I used to be pretty stupid, and it is incredibly refreshing to know when I have a conversation with someone that I know what I'm talking about. And it's important because most people talk about things that they don't understand. They give their opinion on things. It's very crucial that you only talk about things that you understand, because only then will you be able to be respected. I used to talk about stupid shit I had no idea what I was talking about all the time. Now I try to only talk about things that I understand or I'm able to add value-added input. So I would recommend that you do the same, that you figure out why it's important for you, maybe at a different level. Maybe, hey, I just want to read. I read 0 books a year. I want to read 1. Start with 1. Some people can't focus for that long, but the only reason you're not able to focus on a book is because you don't think that there's value. You feel like you're wasting your time. And that was me for a while. So what I did was, I am an entrepreneur. So what I did was I looked at all these successful entrepreneurs that had all the things I want, the lifestyle I want, the cars, the house, the wife, the spiritual life, all that kind of stuff. What are they saying? I read their books. What are they saying? They all say you gotta learn how to read. And it was incredible because without doubt, all of them, all the successful people said you have to read books. And even if it was just because no one else does it is a good enough reason. You need to find someone you respect enough to listen to whatever they say you need to do. So that, for me, that was books, and it's helped me and it served me well. And I hope that you've gotten at least some value out of today's show. Maybe it was a little bit more serious than normal, but I believe it's critical, and I believe that it's highly beneficial if you'll discipline yourself. Maybe start with one thing. Maybe start with, hey, if you want to go to culinary, school, read the autobiography or whatever of, famous chefs and, talk about success and goal hitting and all this kind of stuff, which is universal. It doesn't matter if you're going to be a professional whistler or a professional, Jenga player, House of Card builder, or you're going to be the world's greatest CEO and you're going to punch Jeff Bezos in the face or whatever, right? The first $1 trillion company was built by Jeff Bezos, right? You have all that goal setting and, the motivation stuff and the building on yourself and the sales stuff and the motivation business kind of thing. It translates to everything. It'll help you in your job. You would not believe the amount of money that I've made more since working on myself and reading books is nothing to shake a finger at. So, like I said, I hope I encourage you to do that. If you have any questions or you need any recommendations where to start, just start with the things, like I said, start with why. What are you interested in? What do you want to learn about? And why do you want to learn it? If you like cars a lot, read car books. I don't know. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. So anyways, thank you for tuning in to episode 15 of West is the Best show.